Welcome to Adventures in Education, a program that spotlights positive things happening in the world of education in Southern Oregon. I'm John Letts. In the coming year, I plan to launch a new program at RVTV, Ramping Up Your English. The first theme will be trains and railroads. We'll share bonus videos with viewers, including this one I'll share with you now. It's Amtrak's Cardinal train, Eastbound. Enjoy. Seeing all these railroad tracks leaving Chicago's Union Station, we're reminded that Chicago is the main hub for trains heading west. It's also the starting and ending point for most Midwest trains. We're using Chicago as the jumping-off point for going back east, specifically for going to Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. This isn't the best face of Chicago, but it's very real to see this side of the Windy City as its historical industrial core. Not much natural beauty here, but Chicago was built on smokestack industries and meat processing, not so much on Mother Nature. We're headed southeast out of the city, seeing plenty of these old brick factories, some of them looking like they're from somewhere in the early 1900s. Could all these tractor trailers be hauling some product out of this old factory? Or is this a storage space for transportation stalled by the Great Recession? We saw the results of the recession as we rolled past this Chicago neighborhood, seeing shuttered houses and empty lots where abandoned houses had been removed. Detroit is well known for this, but we see that Chicago has not been immune to it either. Even in the best of times, these were not the best houses, and these were not the best of times. These monstrosities are the large-scale public housing projects that produce some of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the country. They say that trains allow you to see the best and the worst of the country. Chicago has some beautiful neighborhoods, but traveling in this direction, you don't see those beautiful ones. But some people make the best of it. Here we see garden plots worked up along the railroad tracks.
Something was there. It's like an old firehouse on there.
Our attention shifted from the outskirts of Chicago to our destination. In about 24 hours, we'd be in the nation's capital, just in time for the cherry blossoms, as pictured on this cover of the Amtrak timetables. Amtrak's Cardinal leaves in late afternoon. It turned dark before we arrived in Indianapolis, and we stopped at Cincinnati in the wee hours of the morning. We awoke in Ashland, Kentucky at the first light of day. We had crossed the Ohio River during the night. Soon we were in West Virginia, where little towns and small cities were pushed up against the edge of the mountains. Between the towns and cities, we rumbled along past steep rock walls, enjoying the rugged West Virginia mountain country. West Virginia is a state well known for its coal mines. Its coal made steel, heated homes, and powered factories. Transporting that coal caused hundreds of miles of railroad tracks to be constructed here. The coal even powered the steam locomotives that haunted these rails in the past. As the scenery got better, the snow started to fall, and the scenery got even better. But then, the train stopped. With the train at a standstill, we show off our amenities in our Viewliner room, starting with our own sink.
Sound effects and all.
Want to show that?
Below here, we have our in-room toilet. So when you go, when you have to go, you don't have to go. You can go right here. You can go and stay at the same time.
The cars on the Cardinal are what's called Viewliner cars. These are single-level cars. This is the passageway through a Viewliner sleeper car. In this sleeping car of the Viewliner, the passageway skirts the full-size bedrooms on the other side. In the next car, the roomettes line up on each side of the corridor. Liz and I were in this car, in a roomette smaller than a bedroom. When the Cardinal started moving again, we soon found ourselves at the scenic highlight of the route. Right out our window was the New River, that iconic mountain stream of the state of West Virginia. This was worth the wait. We approached the famous New River Bridge, gracefully spanning the stream high above the river.
If you could tell, there are a bunch of eagles flying.
Past that towering bridge, the river took on a little bit more color, and there were more rapids. During the summer, this section is a favorite for river rafters, now a major economic support for this part of West Virginia. We were traveling in March, and because of the time of year, the deciduous trees had not yet put on their leaves, so we actually got a better view of this river than during other parts of the year. Here we could see the dusting of snow in the high country. A late winter storm had gone before us, a storm with high winds. We weren't sure what we would see when we reached Washington, but there was plenty to see right here. West Virginia. At the corner of the station and the trestle right behind.
I took that picture.
And it's snowing, you can see.
Thank you.
Ain't bad.
I'm going to get a good shot of that trestle with the water under it.
Looks like we caught up with the snow, and again I wondered what Washington, D.C. would be like.
Alderson, West Virginia.
You don't see glass insulators like these around much anymore. This is what our train looked like waiting in the station. The coaches are in front, then the dining car, and then the sleeping cars. More trees, more snow, more countryside led us into the capital of West Virginia, Charleston.
Hospital. Hospitals supposed to have lots of money.
They sure do. It's all new construction there.
State for a parking structure.
Leaving Charleston, we found ourselves headed for our destination, Washington, D.C. Soon we were in Virginia, a gentle rolling country that kept us going even closer to our destination. As John Denver wrote, life is old here, so is death. So much of the Civil War was fought in this state. Pulling out of Manassas, we could tell we were getting closer to our destination. Next stop, Alexandria.
Alexandria.
We had seen a lot of countryside, but we weren't in the country anymore.
It's like suddenly big.
Along with being the last Amtrak stop in Virginia, Alexandria is served by various regional and local public transportation means.
Thank you for remembering that.
Got those.
Some got off with suitcases.
Having detrained some passengers, we began easing our way through the rest of Alexandria and toward Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. Now our excitement rose even more because here we are crossing the Potomac River, And we're getting our suitcases together to get off of this train because we're soon going to be in Washington, D.C.
River, entering the District of Columbia.
Horizon Center.
This is the Washington Boat Basin.
Water was here when I lived here.
After 922 miles in 24 hours, we arrived in Washington, D.C., only an hour late. While the Cardinal went on to its end point in New York City, we explored our nation's capital.
And then I can go here.
And where are we here? Where are we?
We are in Washington, D.C. at the National Mall. And no, we're not buying shoes here. We're looking at all the monuments and all the museums on our National Mall.
West side.
The wooden doors you see on the balcony are where every president since Ronald Reagan had their inauguration. The Washington Monument still towers over the mall, but in 2013 it was still being repaired for damage that it sustained during an earthquake. This is the Museum of Natural History, one of many Smithsonian Institute museums on the Washington Mall. Meet James Smithson, a wealthy Englishman who donated his entire estate to establish what has grown to be the largest museum and research organization in the world, the Smithsonian Institute. You can meet him. He's buried right here in the castle. Entrance into the Smithsonian Museums is free, so the crowds get pretty big. From the mall, we got this enticing view of the White House in the distance. Since Congress had imposed the sequester, our White House tour was canceled.
This is from the vantage point of probably, well, we know thousands of people were here that had bussed into Washington, D.C. in 1963 to hear Martin Luther King right up there at the Lincoln Memorial give his I Have a Dream speech. We're standing on the spot where some people were standing listening to that speech.
With the White House tour a no-go, the Lincoln Memorial became our main goal, so we're headed there on our first full day in the Capitol. President Lincoln was far from lonely on this day. People from all over the country and all over the world come here to pay their respects and to admire this savior of our republic.
You ready?
I couldn't see from the trees.
The inspiring words of Lincoln are engraved on the walls inside the monument. Visitors are encouraged to set a respectful, reflective mood. But all these people produce an energy of excitement and joy. And who can blame them? To be in the symbolic presence of this great leader who held the country together during America's bloodiest war. This is the view looking east, the view Martin Luther King Jr. had while giving his I Have a Dream speech. Only the reflecting pool then was lined by a sea of people. On the opposite end of the mall, 2 miles from the Lincoln Memorial, is the Smithsonian Institute's newest museum, the Native American Museum. Various native tribes were involved in the museum's design, allowing visitors to learn about Native American culture in the past and in the present.
My name is Dennis Zokai, and I'm a museum cultural specialist. I'm a proud member of the Kiowa, Santi Dakota, and transition to contemporary native life. At the National Museum, we represent over 2,000 native communities located throughout the entire Western Hemisphere.
On Amtrak+Cardinal westbound, visiting the capital. You're watching Adventures in Education. You can watch an archive of today's show and others by going to this webpage and following the link to archives. Watch RVTV on channel 15 or 182, or visit our website for the next Adventures in Education. I'm John Letts.